Here I am, climbing up, feeling great, getting love. Here I go, risk it all, be worth it now, and that's for sure. Watch me as I rock a team, flying.
All right, episode 20 of Fight Talk Down Under is brought to you by CMBT. We all love CMBT. They're big supporters of Aussie MMA. So, hit up cmbt.com.au. Free shipping on all orders over $150 for their protein powders, bars, pre-workout, all that good stuff. We're also brought to you by Nutcare. Now, their flagship, here we go. Their flagship product is called Bear Nuts. It's like I've got a tube here. Oh, that's upside down. It's a tube here. It's a hair removal cream. It's specifically formulated for sensitive areas such as your nuts. I've actually used it myself, so I can actually confirm that it is legit. It would be in violation of the YouTube terms and conditions if I was to show you right now. But the good news is you don't have to take my word for it. You can go to nutcare.com.au, use the promo code FIGHTNEWS for 10% off at the checkout. That's nutcare.com.au, promo code FIGHTNEWS. So yeah, welcome everyone. For those who don't know, I'm Dan Meehan from Fight News Australia, and of course my co-host, who is on your right, is also our social media manager, analyst, matchmaker, and all-round good guy. It's Lockjaw Justin Van Heerden. How are you, mate?
Man, just happy to be here. 20 episodes in, 20 weeks of podcasting. I think I can officially refer to myself as a podcaster now, so I'm happy.
That's right, we've made it. And you know how we know we've made it? Because we've got our very first guest on this week, and this guy was pretty keen to get on the show. He said, Dan, I really need to take my career to the next level. And we all know that Fight Talk Down Under is the ticket, right? So I said, okay, but only if you win your fight at UFC 275 against Sung Woo Choi. Otherwise, you're out.
Okay,
I speak, of course, of Josh Culibao, who got the job done by a split decision just over a week ago. So how are you, mate?
I'm good.
Hold on, wait. Not a split decision. That shit was unanimous. Fuck that judge.
Is what it is. But as long as I got the W, I'm cheering. But I'm doing good. Thanks for asking, Dan.
No worries. Well, let's talk about the fight. Like, it was a split decision, but it's fair to say that Sung Woo Choi got robbed in the end, right? Like, the way that he sort of used his face to block those punches was just next level.
It's a new technique.
If that's not effective striking, I don't know what is.
It's a new technique I've never seen before, man. But he's really good at it. Man, wow.
So I guess we had a question on from the Instagram page. It was from the Who the Foot podcast. I don't know if you guys have listened to them before. I actually meant to get down that rabbit hole, but they asked, did you have a heart attack when the split decision was announced?
A little bit, to be honest. I have been fucked over before on Fight Island, but I was just thinking, man, surely they're not going to do this to me. Surely they're not. So I was like, as much as I was like, fuck, I can't believe the first judge gave it to that guy. Because as soon as I couldn't really hear, and then they started to announcing names and numbers. And I'm thinking to myself, the only time they ever do that is when it's a split decision. So I was just thinking to myself, like, no way. So, but yeah, I was somewhat, at first scared, but then I was like, no, surely they're not going to do it to me. But yeah.
Yeah, just how on earth they gave that first round to Choi was just unreal. Like when the scorecards came out, that was the round they gave to him. That's
I personally know that judge, so I've known him since I was a teenager. When I was still doing pancreation on the local scene, I've known him for a very long time, and I actually didn't know he was judging, and I actually bumped into him as I was like doing my sort of like my grocery shop. So I got something to eat after the weigh-ins, and I bumped into him. I was like, oh, what are you doing here? And he was like, yeah, I'm doing the judging here. And and then he sort of like told me he was judging, and he was the one that actually, the guy that I knew from Australia, and the guy that I've known for the longest time is the one, the one guy that actually gave it to Choi. So I was like, kind of like.
So hypothetically, if it did end up going to Choi, we just roll up on the dude's house, or like, how's this work?
It has to be, bro. No, but in all seriousness, I actually messaged him and I gave him a question mark, and I go like, real question, like besides the last round, what other rounds did I lose? Like, and then, well, according to him on his scorecards, I lost the first round. So me dropping him twice in one round is obviously me losing the round, I guess.
Yeah, that's an ordinary one. Do you think potentially like he obviously knew you, right? So do you reckon that he would have been sort of conscious of a conflict of interest or something like that? Like, do you think that might have played a factor?
I do think he was kind of overcompensating that he knows me and he's from Australia. And so he kind of, I feel like he was the guy that's kind of overcompensating. But if you're going to overcompensate and still be biased, like, might as well not judge. Like, don't be a judge. You have to be neutral. You have to be straight down the middle. Like, call it how it is. And he seemed to be, I think he's overcompensating because he does know me and he's known me for a long time. So
it's kind of fascinating that he got the gig as a judge on your fight. Like, obviously, like the judges, they kind of rotate with each fight. So it's kind of it's interesting that he ended up being in charge of your fight.
I don't know who controls who's doing what, but yeah, it's a bit weird.
I mean, really, at any point in the fight, watching it, it didn't seem like it. But did you feel like at any point in the fight, like, was there any part of you that went like, oh, like you feel like you lost an exchange or lost a minute of the fight? Because it didn't look like it from where we were.
Besides the last round where he did take my back, and like even though he didn't do anything really in that position, he still had control time.
Control time, yeah.
So I would give him that round just based off that, because I feel that last round we were pretty even on the feet, and then he took my back, so I'd give him that round.
Yeah, that's 1 out of 3. It doesn't really add up. Like, outside of that, you look pretty sharp, man. You look you look fast, powerful. Yeah, look the goods.
Thank you. Yeah, but to be honest, this camp was probably one of the worst camps I've ever had ever. In terms of in terms of injuries and just constant injuries, and just I feel like I could never really string a good week of training together without fucking something happening to me. So I'm not trying to make an excuse now. I try to not say anything beforehand, but it had to be probably one of the worst training camps I've ever had. And obviously, people watching your social media, you sort of want to put on I'm good, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm fucking good training, I'm training hard, but like realistically, like behind closed doors, it was probably one of the shittest training camps I've ever had.
Wow, that's rough. Is it like bad to the point of like missing sessions and sitting out weeks and that sort of thing? Or?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely to that point where it was like, fuck, I can't do this and I can't do that, and I need to do this but I can't do that, and it's like one of those things where like, fuck, I sort of don't want to be in that same boat where I did before, where I sort of like pushed myself too hard and then end up fucking myself more. It was sort of taught me a bit of to have a bit of patience and be able to sit on my hands and actually listen to the people around me tell me take it easy, have a few days here off, have this session off. But yeah, a typical fighter, Justin would vouch for me, like like knowing that you're fighting someone is that you just sort of want to work regardless. You want to feel like, oh, I need to do something, I need to be doing something, and it's sort of like when you don't do it, you kind of lose the confidence, because you look back at your training camp and you feel like, oh fuck, I should have been doing this session, should have been doing that session, and then it kind of like diminishes your confidence, because you're not you feel like you miss sessions and you're slacking because you haven't done those sessions, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Did you feel like at any point potentially when that was all happening, did you feel like, oh, maybe there's a chance that you wouldn't fight at all, or were you kind of just like, nah, fuck it, I'm getting in there regardless, I don't care what happens?
Yeah, I was like, nah, fuck it, I'm not pulling out of this, man. It's been already too long since I had a fight, and then if I had to pull out of this one again, like, I don't know, I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. Like, as a fighter, as a man, as a person, bro, like like you just like. And and plus this is also my job. This is the only real income that I have is fighting, and so I had to do it regardless. And it was just one of those things. I just like, fucking man up, stop being a bitch, and just do it.
Well, it didn't show in your performance in the end, that's for sure. And is it something that you have to sort of recover from now? Like, are the injuries, like, is this an ongoing thing? These sort of injuries that you were carrying, or?
it actually happened during the camp. So yeah, it's the things now, and especially from the fight now, my hand is pretty jacked from the fight. So yeah, I'm just yeah, just nursing all these injuries, and then obviously get the whole clearance, and then get straight back into a training camp. But yeah, I want to keep that ball rolling. I feel like I'm getting that momentum again, and from that performance, that's probably the best. Even though it was the worst training camp, it was probably the best I ever felt in there in terms of nerves and confidence. Like, it's weird. I was actually saying this to somebody else. Is that like it's like a fake it till you make it, and now I feel like you sort of understand that. Like, I sort of faked confidence. I faked body language confidence to myself, and it made me actually believe myself that I was actually confident for the fight. So when I went out there, it felt like I was actually confident, but like it was all fake. And then it ended up convincing me really that I was actually confident for the fight. So when the fight started, everything just felt like, yeah, like fuck, I belonged in here, and everything was just working so well. It was weird. I just like entered like what they would call a flow state, and yeah, it just felt so good in there, and just felt, to be honest, it just felt like a really hard sparring session.
So you were having fun.
Sorry?
You were having fun in there pretty much. Like, you were just going through the motions, having fun.
Yeah, man. It was just like literally just like a sparring session where I just didn't have to pull my punches, and I was just, having fun. Yeah, punching him in the head without having to worry about, oh shit, sorry, you're right. Like, as a training partner, I was just like, yeah, I get to let loose.
You certainly didn't pull any punches, and like in our interview, you kind of I don't know. I guess I kind of put it to you like, do you feel like you'll have a bit more freedom now that you've sort of got the got the UFC win, and got someone who's sort of going to stand and trade with you? So do you feel like that kind of I don't know, sort of contributed to your sense of freedom, knowing that you've sort of got that win on the board, and that sort of monkeys off the back?
Man, every fight I put a lot of pressure on myself, regardless. Like, I feel like that's what got me to where I am now, is that like I never looked past anybody. Whoever I was fighting at the time, that's all I focused on. I was literally, I put my 110%, my whole being into the next fight that I was fighting, and whoever I was fighting next, that's who I put my 110% into. My whole being, my everything, that I put everything into that. So yeah, regardless whether it was last contract, whether I was coming off a loss, whether I'm coming off a draw, whether I'm coming off a win, I put the same amount of pressure on myself regardless. So
yeah, right. Have you got more fights on your contract? You're allowed to tell us that?
I don't know if I can say anything yet, but I'm good. I'm good for now. That's all I can say. I'm good for now.
Unreal.
So,
yeah, no, it's good news. Good news. I think we know what that means. So, what was Choi like? Like, we know he's a bit of a banger, but you didn't seem sort of too troubled when he did put his hands on you. So, yeah, what was it like in there with him?
Man, I'll be honest with you, I was really nervous for this guy. I sort of was saying to my missus, I was saying to Sarah, I was like, don't be surprised if like I leave that cage banged up, bruised, bleeding, or even unconscious. You know what I mean? I even said that to her, and fuck it, she's pretty anxious as it is, and I sort of put it on her like that, and because I was really expecting something like that, and I was really expecting him. I don't know. I feel like I made him out. Probably I did make him out to be more than what he was, but he is still a really, I feel like a really dangerous guy in this division. I feel like, I think he's going to smash a lot of people in this division. Like, yeah.
So now that you fought him, and like obviously you've got the win over him now, we've sort of got that momentum that you're talking about. So ideally for you now moving forward, is there a name that sticks out? Do you want the Jourdain fight back? Do you want to run that back? Do you want to,
Man, I think Chase Hooper is one that you've called for before.
I have. I've called for Chase Hooper, Charles Jourdain.
Would you want Caceres?
Yeah, that'd be a great fight. Actually,
because he beat Choi as well, didn't he? In his last outing. So,
and he's an OG too. I used to watch him on the Ultimate Fighter House when I was still a teenager. You know what I mean? I was watching him when he was on the GSP. Josh Koscheck when he fought. Who did he fight? Michael Johnson.
Yeah, he's like fighting a welterweight or some shit too. Back then. Lightweight welterweight, yeah.
Yeah, so it's insane. So yeah, that I was watching him when I was a teenager. So
Yeah,
yeah,
awesome.
that'd be a good fight. Or I'm not too picky. But yeah, anybody that's I feel like the division is gonna be watching that fight, especially anybody that's smart enough. They'll watch that fight, and like all the grapplers and wrestlers, they're gonna be licking their lips watching that fight, thinking that I'm just a striker, which is good because let them believe that I'm just a striker.
Yeah, let's
Funny
put
how
it
you
out
get
there.
pigeonholed so easily. Like, if you sort of bang on with someone, suddenly you're a striker. You sort of take someone down and tap someone, suddenly you're a grappler. It's funny how people still get pigeonholed in modern day MMA.
It's like we can do everything. It's just that's the way it just played out that fight. But yeah,
I'm,
we can
I'm,
do it.
I'm
We
a
can do it
karate.
all.
I'm a karate guy now. After this camp, I'm a karate guy. So July 16th, watch it. Call me Wonder Boy in the gym now.
Yeah, it's gonna be some spinning shit, standing side on. All right, so are you sponsored by KFC now, Josh, or are you just a big fan, or what's all that about?
Man, I'm trying, Dan. I'm honestly trying to get something. I've been talking to Zan, like, Zan, come on, let's work something out. But I feel it's probably a blessing in disguise that I don't get it, because if I do get it, man, you're gonna get another Australian welterweight in. So we already got enough Australian
Yeah.
welterweights, so we don't need another one, because I'd be the biggest Australian welterweight out there.
Yeah, you can fight Bruce Leroy at welterweight then. Yeah, there you go.
Well, how did the celebrations go? How's the post fight celebrations been?
Man, oh man. Yeah, we just went out. We went to that. Everyone went to the what's it called? The Marina Bay Sands, the boat with
Yep.
the three buildings stuck together with a boat on top. We went out there, had a few drinks there first, and then we ended up going back to the hotel, had some food, and then we bought some drinks, and then one thing led to another, and I just found myself in a pub in the hotel sculling drinks with Jimmy Crew and McMaynard. So
Oh.
yeah, so that's how.
Can
That's where it
confirm
ended.
Jimmy Crute is a monster and he loves to party.
Oh man,
Do-
I'm still a
who
better
hasn't-
drinker than him, though. I'm still a better drinker than him.
Have you found
Oh.
anyone yet that's been able to outskull you? Not yet. You're
Jimmy's
still the champ?
close. Jimmy's close. Jimmy's very close.
I don't know if you know
Him-
Dan, but he can scull a beer. This kid, he can.
Hey,
put it down.
I got a video of me and Lockjaw going at it too, of us sculling a beer and doing shots actually. So
There
And-
you go. God, I didn't know you had a reputation.
That
Undefeated
is
beer
my-
sculler.
I hold out pound for pound, any weight division, even male, female. I'm the champ.
God, with Jimmy Crute's he's a thick boy. He's got one hell of a mullet on him. I would have backed him pretty much against anyone in the UFC. So yeah, to get done by featherweight Josh Culibao, that's impressive.
Have you gone against Tuivasa yet?
He'd probably want to skull out of a shoe, so I'm not too fancy on sculling out of a shoe. I'd rather do it. We do it out of a schooner, and I feel that's my playing field. You know how tennis players have like their certain playing field, like they like to play on clay, or they like to play on grass, or they like to play on fake grass or some shit. Mine's a schooner. I don't want to play on any other
No
terrain.
shoes.
No shoes, no bottles, no. What's the other one? The it's like a thing that you flip upside down.
Oh, yeah,
A snorkel.
Snorkel.
No
None of that.
snorkels. Just the straight
No
schooner.
Straight
beer
schooner.
bongs, nothing.
I'm hearing you, man. I'm like,
That's my
I love
terrain.
some shots. I'm all about shots, and that's what I'm about. So that's where I stick to.
What if it was one of those like rubber shoey Vasa things? It's not an actual worn shoe.
Oh yeah, is that it's like a nozzle? I haven't seen it fully yet, but it's like one of them things that has a nozzle on it. Yeah, I've seen that actually. I haven't like properly seen one.
So that's what we want to see. We want to see Culibao versus Tuivasa schooner skull challenge. That's what we've got to tee up.
That's it. That's
I'm
the
ready
call
for
out right
everyone.
there.
I'm ready for who else can skull a beer? I'd take them on too. So whoever.
Yeah. There you go. So Lockjaw calls someone out every second week on this podcast, but there we go. Josh Culibao calling out Tai Tuivasa. Can cut that one out and stick it on Insta.
Done.
I'll put it out there. Let him know. Maybe you can even do it with some of his Drink West now that that's got some more momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you picky on the actual poison or?
Nah, man. You, like I said, just the terrain, which is a schooner. That's my terrain. That's my playing field. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's beer. As long as it's beer, not cider or wine or goon or whatever other people drink. Beer is the way
Can
to
you
go.
you can confirm or deny this, because I've heard it reported to me that there was an undisclosed challenge of sculling a beer one time between you and Blake Donnelly, and he swears he smoked you. He says it wasn't even close.
Blake Donnelly, don't stop, Blake. You're watching this, Blake. Don't stop me, bro. You know, deep down who won that. I could beat Blake in the bottle and the schooner and the shoe. I beat him everywhere. Blake, let's go, bro. Come on, Blakey. Now that's a guy I could beat in every terrain, in all playing fields. I could beat him.
Actually,
There you go.
yeah, I've got a funny
Busted.
video of Blake trying to do a shot, and it's one of my favorite videos of all time. Might get the clearance off him and post that on the old Fight Talk Down Under Instagram page, but it is amazing.
There you go. Is Blake fighting sometime soon?
Let's hope. Let's hope. If
Yeah,
anyone should be fighting Aguilera, it should be that dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're waiting on an announcement for Aguilera. That'll be interesting.
Because obviously the Josh Kuhn fight fell through. Blakey had to sit on the sidelines for that. He's sort of been waiting, but hopefully that could be the Aguilera fight, or potentially, I don't know, you could do a rematch for him with Martinez or Dimps. Dimps, I know he wants that one back, so yeah.
What's Martinez up to? Did you get any sort of inside scoop from him while he was at Freestyle?
Well, he was asking if he should take the fight with Aguilera, and I was like, well, if they're offering it to you and it's for the belt, then why not?
Exactly.
Do it. Go do it. And I mean, obviously with him being down here at Freestyle and getting to move around with him and stuff like that, it was it's very interesting. I was very surprised by a few bits and pieces. Like, the dude's obviously clearly working on the stand-up side of things, and you can see that he's kind of improved in that area. And obviously, the grappling and the wrestling is going to be his biggest weapon. But I don't know. After sort of spending the time with him when he was down here, I just think there's a few sort of matchups for him that that are sort of just always going to be difficult ones. Like the Blake matchup, Aiden's a pretty rough matchup. Like tall, long dudes that are pretty rangy and good on the feet. He's going to struggle with, I think, unless he switches up things in a dramatic sort of way and drastic sort of way. But I feel like he said he wants to fight. He wants that fight with Aiden, because obviously they've been going at it back and forth on socials, and old mate said a fair bit to him. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Training with him, Lockjaw, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much Lockjaw strength does he have? Because I feel like he's got a guy that's very, very similar to you, but I don't know if he would. I don't know if for fact if he would. So what do you reckon on the scale of 1 to 10? Lockjaw strength. What's his lockjaw strength like?
It's not even close. And that's not a knock. I'm not being disrespectful to him, but I actually said this to someone the other day. I was actually very surprised in those exchanges, because you watch him fight, you see him get a hold of people, and they just can't do anything. So
that's what I'm saying.
I expected to feel that in some way when I was in those exchanges with him, but it just wasn't the same, if you know what I mean. It just, I don't know. And that could be just a simple case of, look who I usually have to try and get a hold of. I got to spar and get around in there with you, Jamie, Blakey, Volker. I mean, Volker's obviously the weakest, but the other ones, they're all monsters. They're all massive, big dudes. Joshy's I don't know if you know, Dan, but Joshy's actually the biggest featherweight in Australia.
I've already said this, bro. I've
by a
already
mile.
explained this. But hold up. You think I'm big? I thought I was big, and then standing next to Choi when we both weighed in. After the fight, I stood next to him, and I thought to myself, "Holy fuck!" I literally was like, "No way is this dude." I tried to ask him what his weight was, and I didn't get a clear answer at him. I thought they said he only put 7 kilos on, and then somehow it got changed to 170, and then from then it got changed even 2 more. It got changed to 177. So what's 177 pounds to kilos?
That'd be around 70,
79.
79, yeah, 78, 79.
And bro, he's tall and he's not skinny. He's
Just
thick
thick.
everywhere. His
Yeah, he's a
legs are
big boy.
solid. I'm like standing next to him, I'm like, fuck me. Like it's weird when you're fighting with someone and he's like in stance, they kind of like make themselves a bit smaller, but then when you actually stand next to the bloke, he's a giant. I'm surprised he can make featherweight, to be honest. Fuck. He has to be one. He
Yeah.
surely has to be one of the biggest. Like you see tall guys and they're skinny. He is tall and he's not skinny.
And he's thick, yeah.
So that's what I mean. He's
Yeah.
he's an underrated dude, bro. He's gonna sleep a lot of guys in the division. So
Yeah, he certainly looked big in there, that's for sure. Do you feel like you're a bit stiff not to get 50 G's for your performance? You certainly weren't shy in asking the question afterwards.
yeah, I'm a little look. Sometimes closed mouths don't get fed, so might as well just say something. So I just said something real quick, and just if it did, it did. If it didn't, it didn't. I'm not too fussed, but yeah, I'm just glad that I reckon if I did though, if I did get a knockout, I definitely would have got some.
100%.
I feel like all the finishes on the night basically got a performance of the night, and then obviously I can't top a 5-round fight like Yuri and Glover did. Like I couldn't top that. Like that's like too hard to top. Like so.
How much
The next
KFC
thing, if it
could-
was any other night other than Yuri versus Glover, you probably would have had fight
Smoked
of the night in the bag. But
Yeah.
unlucky.
How much KFC does 50 G's buy? Is my question.
No, I just buy a whole branch. Buy a whole
Just
branch off
buy a
myself.
franchise. Yep. Just
Sponsor
that's it.
yourself.
Some KFC myself and just sponsor myself. Get it working itself out.
I can see it now. You just say to Sarah's like, look, we don't need to buy no houses. We don't need to invest. We don't need to save. None of that. KFC franchise. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, and we'll build it from there. KFC meets UFC. Done. There you go.
Imagine that. You just walk into
Yeah.
a KFC branch and Josh Culibao just standing behind the counter going, what can I get you?
What can you get here?
God, you might be heading up to heavyweight then if you had access to
I've been
KFC
there.
chicken all day.
Would
I'm ready.
you disclose the secret herbs and spices? Would you tell the boys on the sly? Would you let us know? Or would you kind of like
Yeah.
stick to it?
100%. What do you mean? Why would I hold out on such a a life-changing secret like that? Like that could be like game changer for everyone.
Wait,
Imagine
I have a question,
Sorry, go.
and now I'm gonna like try and throw some shit out there. What's better, Volko's wings or KFC?
Oh no! You can't do me like that, man. You can't do me like that. Oh. Man.
And tell me why it's not Volko's wings.
No. Hey, folks watching this, hey, don't be mad. But yeah, them Wicked Wings, there's something else, bro. There's something special in there. They just hit the spot. But hey, Volk, your wings are still amazing. Don't let Lockjaw change your mind thinking that just because I got to choose now. But yeah, them Wicked Wings are something special. They hit the spot different.
No, I'm hearing you, man. That's the first thing I'm getting after my fight. After I sleep this dude, it's the first thing I'm doing.
Let's go.
God, how's training going for you, Lockjaw?
It's been good. It's been weird doing because obviously even before the fight with Alan, like we were doing sort of a few camps to wait, missed out on a few fights because of stuff just falling through, et cetera. But no, it's been cool. Obviously, it's been sort of still an adjustment, just going from just fighting, keeping the momentum going, and then just carrying on. And I'm fortunate that body-wise, there's no injuries or anything like that. There's obviously you get the little niggles through camp, like you always get. You get like little bits and pieces here and there. And then there's like the same things like Josh was saying, like you're gonna have those sessions where you're just kind of like you go in, you do them, and you're just kind of like, man, that was pretty shit. Like, how am I doing? Like, how am I meant to go and fight some dude after doing this? Like, I couldn't even I had some shitty output in a session like that or whatever. But I was talking to Volk about it the other day. There's some days where we come in and you just feel like especially before some of our harder sessions, like a spider or a lactic or something like that, and you just think like, fuck, I feel horrible. I'm not going to be able to get out here and do this or like perform real well. but then you end up having like one of the better ones that you've ever done. So I guess, yeah, that's sort of just hit and miss. That's sort of the hit and miss things and the little bumps and stuff that you have through camp. But overall, pretty good. Excited to go out there and go fight this boogeyman that everyone's making him out to be, as Joshy said.
Fucking hell.
This dude's getting folded.
Bro, smash him, man. Smash him. It's funny that I wish it could have held off a little bit longer. UFC could have held off a little bit longer, and I had that fight with him just to sort of shut him up, man. Because for the longest time he's been saying that nobody wants to fight him. Everyone's scared of him. He's the man, you know. Man, I wish just one more fight I had before the UFC came calling, but you know, I'm not going to turn down the UFC for him.
No, 100%.
It's just common sense. But yeah.
Imagine telling the UFC, sorry, I've got to fight Muhammad Ali. Just hold on. Hold on.
Just
You
wait.
can
Just
hold on to
wait
your
a
contract
sec.
for a minute. Yeah. Yeah. So you reckon he's not that good?
I think he is good, but what he thinks he is. I don't think he thinks he's not as good as he thinks he is. Like what he that makes sense. I think he's good, but he makes it out as if he's fucking Volko's level. Like, come on, bro. What have you done, and what have you done, bro?
Like that's what I said, and it's not even a disrespectful thing to say. The only two people that you fought that were notable that you fought so far was Rodolfo, who's so far gone, and that's not like the dude's just that I beat him like what 3 years ago. You beat him back, like you beat him as well, and even like
4 or 5 years ago.
Exactly. So like that's not even like, but that's his last fight. That's the fight he's coming off of. Whatever. Before that, he fought our friend Cody Barnwell, and that fight got stopped for a cut. But Cody was beating the shit out of him. So like, and granted, Cody's a bigger guy, and he went up in weight to fight him, whatever. But like, yeah, those are the two sort of notable people that you fought. You beat a dude who's super chinny and so far gone. No disrespect. And then, you fought Cody and were pretty much losing, and, fight gets stopped for an accidental headbutt cut type deal, and they judge it to where it all like played out or whatever. But, like obviously, like I'm not like the guy's obviously very explosive, and he's, going to come after it. He throws everything full clip. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to look to just put me away. That's his whole approach. And that's cool. And, he has got some skills and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just think that, I mean, look at the people I get to train with. Look at the caliber of people that I have around me. No one's gonna offer me the same sort of problems that the people that I train with do. It's not
You're telling me he's not as good as Alexander Volkanovski?
Nah. He might be better than Joshy Bart. He might be like a little bit better than Josh.
Fuck that, bro. Fuck that. I'll put him on his ass, bro. And I'll say that out in the open. Fuck him, bro.
See, look, Joshy's taking the reins of the podcast. He's out here spraying people. He's just keeping it going. He's doing everything.
This is good. People need to get sprayed.
It's just him, man. Be honest. Like, out of all the guys that are on the whole featherweight scene in Australia, New Zealand, he was the only one that just made me just like, him and Blackie, Iron Blackie.
Oh, yo.
Them two basically, but yeah, just them two just seem to just get on my nerve, and I'm a pretty easy going, nice guy, but like, I don't know, he's probably not even done anything bad to me, but it's just, I don't know, I just get that weird feeling with him, and I just don't like him, so. I hate him.
If there's a bit of arrogance there, then that always goes over poorly.
On him.
So, Justin, have you seen Khan Offley was he at Freestyle, or has he been over at City Kickboxing?
He was at Freestyle, and then he went over to City Kickboxing, and then he just fought and won an interim featherweight title with that Bushido in Brussels or whatever. So he fought some Brazilian dude who was pretty, looking at his record, he's got, there's a few fights on there that were a bit meh, but, for the most part, I had to look sort of at some of his stuff, but he's, he seemed pretty handy, but, obviously, Khan went over and sort of did his thing. Obviously, I'm not under any illusion. It's not like Khan and I are like teammates, like we got to train together at Freestyle, so, potentially he could be an opponent for me moving forward after this fight. Outside of Muhammad, he'd be the only featherweight that I haven't fought.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was going with that. He's obviously gone over and won that Bushido featherweight title. So yeah, I just wondered if you had any experience with him in the gym and where you sort of thought that he kind of sits in the, you guys are both featherweights, so where does Khan Offley sort of sit in the pecking order? He's saying on social media that he'll be sort of in the UFC shortly. A lot of obviously a lot of fighters aspire to that. So yeah, what do you think of Khan and where does he sit?
In terms of like skill set wise, and sort of, he's better. He's better and like got a lot more weapons than Alavi does. He's pretty well rounded. Like he's got decent wrestling, decent grappling. He's got pretty heavy hands himself as well. He packs some power in his punches, but not like in terms of like a well-rounded skill set. He's a lot more well-rounded than Alavi. Alavi's just sort of more likes to just stand up and throw full clip and be aggressive, and he'll throw the odd jumping knee, he'll throw the odd head kick here and there. But I guess Khan's a lot more well-rounded. It'd be a bit more of you'd have to approach it with a bit more respect than I do the Alavi fight. I'm not saying I don't respect his skills or abilities. I just know that there's one path of victory that he's sort of striving towards, and if I remove that off the table, the night's going to be a bit easier for me. Whereas with Khan, it'd be a bit more. There's a few more weapons, a few more things to worry about. Obviously got to train with him a bit when he was at Freestyle. We got to spar a bit, we got to grapple, we got to wrestle. The dude's got some skills. He's pretty handy. But like obviously, there's like I said. I mean, I train. Look at the people I train with, man. I train with the world champ. Train with Joshy, train with Jamie Malaki, train with Blakey, train with all these guys. There's no one that I look at in the featherweight division in Australia, New Zealand, or in this sort of region that I'm sort of like off. That I'm sort of like thinking, oh shit, that'd be like a crazy fight. Like I respect all the guys that I'm going to get in there with, and I'll give them that respect, and I'm going to approach it that way. But at the end of the day, like I'm just confident because based on the work that I do and based on the people that I get to sort of share the mats with.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple other little things to sort of cover off there. Obviously, over the weekend, Rob Wilkinson was in action in the PFL again. I don't know if you guys both watched that one, but he's beaten Victor Pesta by round 1 TKO, and pretty much as predicted. Once again, Lockjaw was on the money. Said Victor Pesta was going to get bashed, and that he did. So Rob goes through as the number 1 seed now. He takes on what's the guy's name again? Dylan Monte. In the first round, in the semi-finals, of the light heavyweight tournament, and I think it's going to be PFL 7 on August 6th. So obviously we'll be covering that one off fairly shortly. But yeah, what do you make of Rob Wilkinson's performance and his chances going into the semi-finals?
Beast, absolute beast. He looks, even when they were back in there, like obviously that guy had fought at heavyweight before and stuff like that, but Rob just seemed way bigger than him in there, way bigger, way stronger, and just smoked him. And that's kind of what I expected. And we touched on it in the lead up. I mean, that dude fought like a couple of weeks ago and got absolutely murked by the Russian bloke. Akhmedov just smoked him. So fighting that quickly again after you got knocked out badly was always going to be sort of a rough task, So I don't know. I think Rob's a beast, man. I think he's found a home at light heavyweight, and I reckon he's in a solid chance to win that $1 million.
No, 100%. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Rob is, I think that the best thing for him was to move up. I feel like he was probably cutting a bit too much to make middleweight. And that kind of showed in some of his performances at middleweight. But yeah, I think he fits in perfect at light heavyweight. He's big, he's solid, and his performances are saying it. Like he's a machine.
Did you guys ever fight on the same cards like when you're on the regional scene still?
No, he actually came and did a couple of weeks training at Eagles. I forget, probably like 2000, just before he got signed to the UFC. He did a camp with us, and then I don't know who he fought. I think he would have fought on Hex or not Hex, AFC.
AFC, yeah.
AFC. Yeah. So yeah, I got to train with him, but that was back when he was still probably dieting down to still make middleweight. So, but I would like to see how big he is now, because even back when he was cutting down to middleweight, he was huge. So, yeah.
In a previous interview, he said he was cutting, I think, somewhere around 13 kilos to make middleweight, which is kind of insane,
That's
really.
insane.
Like it's obviously a point of diminishing returns with cutting weight, and I think he was probably well over that mark there. But
I mean, I think the biggest
yeah,
example of that was the Adesanya fight. I mean, obviously, Izzy's a fucking beast, but you could see that old mate was just so wrecked. He was so depleted. He couldn't do anything.
he
And
looked
like
like
the
he just
one
got out of
round.
bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, does anyone in that light heavyweight tournament beat Rob Wilkinson? Like, he's fighting Dylan Monte, who won he's just scraped through to the finals. He beat who did he beat? I can't remember who it was. Oh, Emiliano Sordi. He knocked him out in the first round, and he just scraped through to the finals. I don't think he's necessarily on Rob's level. But the winner will fight either Antonio Carlos Jr. or Omari Akhmedov in the final, who are probably two of the more dangerous guys in the in the bracket. So, yeah, what do you reckon?
Carlos Jr. is probably the harder fight for him, I think.
I think, yeah. I was just about to say. Exactly.
But the way sort of Carlos Jr. struggled with Brucey Soto in his fight, I don't know if you watched the whole card on the weekend, but we saw Rob obviously put Brucey Soto away in the second round. That's a bit of MMA maths there, but Carlos Jr. sort of struggled to get off against Brucey Soto and struggled to take him down, who's obviously a much smaller guy. So I don't know. I didn't really see anything in Antonio Carlos Jr.'s performance to suggest that he's even going to beat Rob Wilkinson. Yeah,
I think at this stage it's I don't know. Obviously, we're going to be biased towards Rob because he's an Aussie and you want to see the Aussies kill it. But I guess that's sort of the matchup I look at because obviously Antonio Carlos Jr. has won it before and he's a beast. He's a big dude as well. He's fucking huge. So I think that's the only matchup I sort of look at and I go, okay, yeah, that could be rough. But like we sort of said, MMA math doesn't add up. At all, a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And also coming up this weekend, we've got Carlos Ulberg, guy that we know Justin's trained with before, taking on Tafon Nchukwi at UFC Fight Night Sarukian versus Gamrot. So, yeah, what do you make of that matchup?
Very winnable for Carlos. Obviously, we got to factor in it. The heavier weight classes, there is, everyone's got that ability and power to shut the lights off, with like one or two punches. So there's that danger there. But I don't know, the way Carlos fights, and we sort of spoke about it last time, he's obviously intending on finishing the fight and putting the dude away. But, he's got a long, rangy sort of point fighting style where he kind of, can sit back and just sort of let the city kickbox and stand-up skills speak for themselves. So I feel like, it's a very winnable fight for him. Well, at light heavyweight, you just got to have your fucking P's and Q's in order. It was one punch and it's all she wrote. So, still got to be aware of it. But I think Carlos is just going to go out there and do work.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Josh?
Carlos, yeah, exactly what Justin's always hitting the money on the head with these ones. So I think, I agree with that. Like, man, that style is. It's not per se an actual kickboxing style, but it's like a hybrid kickboxing style that works so well for MMA, where it's like they're not standing still enough for them to be taken down, but they're also enough to. You have to remember, we're fighting in 4-ounce gloves, and all it takes is a simple jab just to get touched a couple of times, and then your face swells up, your nose is busted, you're breathing out of your mouth. And that's that sort of hybrid style that like works so well for MMA. So they're never too heavy on their feet, and they pick their shots really well. Their shot selections, like with all of the fighters that come out of CKB, they have like a good shot selection on what they want to throw that works well on a certain person that they're fighting. So yeah, they've got that down pat. So I think that style of kickboxing in MMA is just, I think it's a hybrid style of kickboxing that works so well in MMA. So, yeah, I think Carlos, again, doesn't even have to chase the knockout. The knockout will come if he just keeps touching him. The knockout will come.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you follow boxing much, Josh?
Yeah, I love boxing. In terms of Australian boxing or just world boxing?
Yeah, Australian boxing probably in particular is what we're focusing on here.
A bit of both. Yeah, I do follow. Yeah, my closest, one of my closest mates is a pro boxer. So yeah, I do follow a little bit just to sort of
Yeah.
understand where his head's at when he's fighting. So.
That was probably a stupid question, actually, asking a Filipino whether he follows boxing. That was probably a dumb one, but so apologies for that one. But where I was going with that one was obviously Matchroom Boxing has been announced this week, so they're doing their first event down here in Australia. The date and venues to be confirmed, but it looks like it's going to be in September with Liam Paro versus Brock Jarvis in the main event. So Sky Nicholson and Dempsey McKean on the card. So it looks like it's going to be a fun one. But the main event is like it's one of those fights that you don't really see overseas. Like it's two sort of up and coming guys, undefeated records. Sort of normally they would sort of a fight like that would happen once one of them's got a world title, or once then they're sort of further along the line. So it's just kind of a really fun sort of matchup and a fun event. So yeah, what do you make of that?
I reckon
Eddie
it's
Hearn's
good.
a smart dude, man. Eddie
Yeah,
Hearn's
for
smart.
sure. I for some reason I feel like they should do that more often. I feel like they always protect their guys all the way till they can make money off them. If that makes sense. They kind of get guys given to them knowing that they're going to beat them until obviously they get a world title, or where they can sell a pay-per-view from them and make money off them, and then they give them real contenders. Like where in the MMA scene, you could be fighting the best guy already at 4-0 in Australia. So, like, yeah, it just doesn't. Yeah, they should do that more often in boxing. But I understand the business side of things. They're all trying to make some money off these prospects and up and coming dudes. Yeah, it's an exciting fight if you get two undefeated guys that are coming up and they're both talented. They don't have any world titles together yet, so it's like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you make of the matchup, Lockjaw?
Oh, a bit of bias. I mean, Liam and I, we go way back, so obviously I want to see him go out there and kill it. The dude's an absolute beast, man. Like and when it comes to the boxing sort of element of things, the dude's he's super talented. He's a southpaw. He's an absolute beast, man. He's very talented. Like, I think he's one of those guys where you could kind of go it's sort of what I spoke about, where he's going to be one of those people in boxing that while he's competing, you want to be paying attention and absorbing what's happening in front of you. Like I've been saying with some of these, like all the Australian fighters that we have that are killing it at the moment. Like you want to absorb it now, take it in now. You don't want to sit back later on and go, oh fuck, I had the opportunity to watch this person compete and do their thing and I didn't take advantage of it. So yeah, obviously both it's an interesting matchup that they're throwing together, but I don't know. I just see Liam going out there and just putting on a show. The dude's he's very 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 good, very very good, and he's got the same work ethic that he had from when he was like a young up and coming amateur. Like the dude still doesn't sort of put himself up on a pedestal too much. He just kind of gets out there and does this sort of thing.
Yeah, there you go. And look, hopefully here in Australia we can sort of lead the way with some of those things. Like Josh was saying, like in boxing, there's a lot of sort of record padding, and there's a lot of value put on that undefeated record. So a lot of fighters and managers will try and protect that record as they sort of advance up the rankings. But obviously last week we had Justice Hooney versus Joe Goodall. This took place. There's another couple of up and coming guys. Justice Hooney only 5 fights into his career. I think Joe only had 9 or 10 fights, I think, going into it. And obviously Justice Hooney. He's got the job done by unanimous decision. It was it was pretty. It was a little bit one-sided in the end. Like Justice looked really impressive, but I don't know. Did you guys watch that fight and what did you think?
Yeah, I caught a glimpse. I didn't get to watch it live, but then I went back and got to see like the fight play out. But yeah, there's another one that's sort of like where it's kind of like they took two guys that are sort of up and coming and threw them together. And I expected it to be a bit more competitive than it was, but yeah, Justice just kind of outclassed him really.
Yeah, what did you have a look, Josh?
To be honest, I didn't watch that fight. No.
Well, I mean, Justice Hooney, he looked.
I watched his fight against Gallon, and like, man, like the beat down he put on Gallon, like wow, which was a given. Like I felt like which was a given. Like Gallon's just too tough for his own good. But yeah, I didn't get to see his last one.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a different, a little bit of a similar scenario. Like Gooder was kind of like he's a physically strong sort of guy. Obviously, his boxing skills are going to be a little bit stronger than Paul Gallen, but Justice just looked sharp. He looked really just fast and athletic for a heavyweight. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see sort of how far he can go because at the moment at 6-0, the tools are definitely there.
Yeah, and we know at heavyweight, like the talent pool, isn't as big as some of the other divisions. Even in boxing, like obviously, it's a bit different to the sort of MMA side of things. But yeah, I feel like you just go, you keep your momentum going. Next thing you know, you're out there fighting for a world title.
Absolutely. It looks like he's in talks to fight Lucas Brown next. So obviously Lucas has pulled off.
Killed a guy.
He just killed a guy. Just killed Junior Farr, who's obviously a contender himself. So it was definitely an upset, that one. But I don't know that that's a great matchup for Lucas Brown though. In the end, against Justice Hooney.
For Lucas, it's probably not going to be a fun night in the office. I feel like, it's the same thing, but like it's heavyweights, they're throwing big punches. Obviously, Lucas showed he's still, like we said, the power's the last thing to go. He's still got the power, so But I don't know. I think Hooney's just going to be too good, too fast, too sleek. The movement's too good, the defensiveness is too good, and he's just going to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, always a puncher's chance in Lucas Brown, but who knows. But we've got a couple of fan questions to get through. I've put a couple in this week just to sort of take us out. But the first one comes from Aaron Silver. This was off the Instagram page, and I'll throw this one out to both of you guys. But who was your biggest inspiration for deciding that you wanted to do MMA? We'll start with you, Josh.
Oh, biggest inspiration, man. To be honest, it has to be Hoist Gracie. I was probably 11, 12 when I first watched the first UFC. Had the VHS tapes. My dad ended up getting the Ultimate Fighter tape, put it in, watched it, and seeing this skinny, scrawny dude in a gi beat the shit out of everybody without throwing a single punch, making everyone quit without throwing a single punch, and it kind of made me like, wow, like this skinny, non-athletic guy comes in here, takes down this tall ass wrestler, and then chokes him out senseless. Like that's probably had to be my biggest inspiration. After seeing that, and I was like, yeah, I want to try that out. So it'd have to be Hoist Gracie.
There you go. What about you, Lockjaw?
Outside of Josh Culibao, he'd be up there. I'd probably have to go with BJ Penn. Prime BJ Penn was an absolute beast, and the guy is he's one of those people in a sport. We always talk about it like there's outliers in a sport, and he's obviously clearly one. I mean, the guy he won the Mundials after training and become 2-3 years or some shit.
Yeah,
the dude obviously went through the UFC, just destroyed people. Like when he was in his prime, he's probably, I guess, early version of someone who could put it together, who was an early version of a mixed martial artist. Obviously, he had the jiu-jitsu base and all that sort of stuff, but I think he was probably one of the early people that put it together. It's like him and Matt Hughes were early days guys that put it together. And I just remember watching BJ fight and being just seeing someone go out there and do the sort of shit that he was sort of able to do. And I was like, fuck, man, this guy's so good. This is wicked. This is what you can be capable of if you just get out there and sort of train, do the work, and just keep progressing through. Obviously, he's a special talent, but it just shows you that he wasn't doing. It's not like he was doing anything special or anything out of the ordinary. He's not out here doing shit like Yuri or Tony Ferguson or anything like that. But
his nickname was the Prodigy, though, so he
100%.
he was something special. I can still remember him going out there and knocking out Gomi. And then sick. Him just after, what was it, Gomi? No, not Gomi. Una? Was it Una?
Yeah.
He knocked out one dude, and when he just knocked him out, he just ran out of the cage, ran straight to the back, knocked him out, and just ran straight off. So I was like, yeah, he's something special.
Yeah, I mean, his record probably belied how good he was. I was just looking up his record there. I think it was 16, 14, and 2 in the end by the time he's by the time he's hung up the gloves. So it was like, it doesn't do him justice really, because like Lockjaw was saying, he was one of the first guys who could do both. Like he could strike, he could grapple, and that was just like a mind blowing sort of talent back then, like in those sort of early 2000s. When someone was a good grappler and they could strike as well, it was just like, oh my god, this guy can do it all. How on earth are you going to beat him? So yeah, it's a good shout. I think he inspired a lot of people, and probably, maybe there was just a bit of discipline lacking there, so a little bit of a lack of focus that maybe kind of curtailed his career. Like he sort of didn't end up maybe even reaching the heights that he possibly could have, which is incredible to think of, because he was one of the early sort of 2-weight champions.
He was fighting heavyweight. Machida at heavyweight.
Yeah, he fought Machida at heavyweight.
Yeah.
The balls on him.
Unreal. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Did he win? No, he didn't. Lost by decision. But that's some balls. Like Machida was obviously unbeatable on the in the early days as well. So to just take a fight like that is just that's nuts. All right, so we've got another question. This one's for Josh. Comes from Tom Edwards. This one goes quite deep, so feel free to sort of go as in depth on this one as or as in depth or as not in depth as you like. But he asked Josh, what would it mean to you and your family and the memory of your father to become a UFC champion?
Oh, oh man. Man, anything to do with my dad gets me pretty emotional. But man, like he's one of the guys that obviously really kickstarted my career to really chase this and do it full time, because like I said in previous interviews that the Filipino culture was always to just do the same shit. Everyone does the same shit. Everyone does do a trade, become a nurse, do construction, study. It's all the same typical shit that all the Filipinos do. And for him to sort of say, like, and he came from that culture, for him to say to his own kid, like, I see something in you, I reckon, don't worry about doing that and just put your head down, because I feel like you got a talent for it. And like, in Philippines, sport never really made money. Like, sport is like sport's a sort of fun thing that you do. Sport is, yeah, you can do that on the weekend or play with your friends. Yeah, you can do that. So anything to do with sport was sort of just like, that's just a hobby. So for him to be able to say to me, like, I feel you got a talent for this, go chase it. So, and then to also, if he's asking, like, for me to achieve a dream of being a world champion. And another thing that he's always, my dad was always pushing before he passed, was that he always wanted our last name to be a recognized name. I don't know why, but he always just seemed like very, very picky and very pushy about trying to leave a lasting impression on people, that people will remember our last name. And so I don't know where that came from, but that was one thing that always stuck with me. So like, if I was to win a world championship, that means, in history, my name is going to be engraved as, being a world champion, and people see that last name. And yeah, so it'd be a very special thing to be able to be a world champion. So so that was a really good question. Yeah, for sure. It'd mean the world. It'd mean the world to me, and also, my dad, to be able to win a world championship, have the last name engraved in history.
And how old were you when you sort of started in the martial arts, and when was that? Did it become something that your family sort of accepted as a possible thing for you to pursue?
I started Taekwondo with my brothers at the age of 12, and then I transitioned to MMA Jiu-Jitsu at 15, 16. And then I had my first fight at 17. I was fighting in a ring. There was no cages allowed then. And then I fought a 27-year-old. And then ever since then, my dad sort of was like, oh, okay, you just beat up a 27-year-old with, not much of experience, and you're fighting this older guy, and I was still fighting at like 80 kilos, like cutting no weight and just fighting at 80 kilos. And I was beating, bigger guys. So that's when it started, that he sort of had an eye and had a feel that I had something special for this. And then, he just told me, go for it. Why not? Like you gotta feel for it. He paid for my trip to go compete in Greece in the World Championships of Pancration, which is basically the the IMAF of today, because there was no IMAF back when I was fighting then. Me and Jamie both fought on that same world championship, so I ended up getting silver, and Jamie ended up getting gold. So yeah, that sort of kickstarted everything, and my dad, yeah, pushed from then on, knowing that like I did so well even at the world championship of pancreation. So he was like, why not keep going? So yeah.
Absolutely. There you go. That was Jamie Malaki.
What's that? Yeah, Jamie Malaki. That's the
Yeah,
one.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, is that something that would be, I don't know, kind of sort of frowned upon in the community? Like, would they have sort of looked at, I guess your family sort of allowing you to pursue something like that and just be like, what are they doing? Is that something that sort of happens in the community?
Not now. Like they'll be seeing the success that I have now, and it's funny. It's like once you finally break through and you start to have success, people jump on board. And so now, like the whole community, the whole Filipino community back in my dad's hometown and mum's hometown, they're very supportive now. But I don't think when I was chasing the dream, they were thinking like, oh, he's sort of an idiot, like he's a bit dumb. Why would you do that when you can be making, be making a good wage doing this or doing that? And so like now they're like, yeah, okay, now he's on TV. Oh, look at him, he's winning now. It's like, so now they're a bit more supportive. So
Just for
Do
the
you get a
record,
lot of coverage
I
from back
wouldn't.
home?
what's that? Sorry.
So, do you get a lot of coverage from back home? Like, are you sort
Yeah,
of,
I was
well
actually
known over there?
on the national news over there, which is watched by like
Ui.
6.55 million people. So yeah, I kind of cracked big with the last fight. So I made the national news on in the Philippines. So that was pretty cool. So definitely got a lot of Filipino messages that I can't really read or understand properly. So
Just sort of winging it. Just for the record, if I walked into a hospital and you were my nurse, I wouldn't be upset. Just want to put that out there. I wouldn't be upset. There's worse people you can get as a nurse.
Absolutely, yeah. Fight Talk Down Under just got a whole lot better looking this week, that's for sure.
Fuck, both of you guys
Yeah.
are just always complimenting me about fucking looking good and being happy and smiling. Like, fucking hell, maybe I should just change careers now. You guys are gassing me up so much. I might as well just fucking stop fighting and become a face model or some shit.
Yeah, look, your head's not going to fit back in the gym door, but after all this sort of pump up that we've been giving you, but look, I'm a straight married man, I'm comfortable in my sexuality,
And
but I can understand.
And you guys are still gassing me. Like, come on, boys.
Yeah, look,
Gassing
I
me
can
up.
recognise a good-looking rooster when I see one.
I don't know if you guys seen the interview with Laura Sanko.
I did.
Put it
Yep.
out. Oh fuck, man,
That was
hilarious.
classic.
That was a massive fucking gave me a big head for sure.
Yeah, what happened there? Just for those who didn't see it, including myself.
Oh, so right after the fight, I had to run back and do a quick interview with a couple media outlets, and Laura Sanko was probably one of the first interviews that I did. So I'm still buzzing and shit's happening real quick, and so we're doing an interview, and she's saying, besides your hand, is there anything else that was hurt, or like did he hurt you in any way? And I go, nah, nothing really hurt me. He might have just hit me and I was a little bit off balance. And then I sort of looked at the camera and I said, well, I'm still, nah, I'm still pretty. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm still pretty, and smiled at the camera. And then Laura Sanko goes, yes, you are. Yes, you are still pretty. And then I was like, oh shit. And then I sort of put it on my stories, and then just sort of made a meme out of it. Yeah, just so I get out of trouble, because Sarah would probably be watching that interview. So yeah.
Imagine that went down like a lead balloon when you got home.
Nah, she was sweet with it. But she knows my type, blonde. And so, yeah, she was a bit like, yeah, you better not.
There we go. But and one thing the listeners better not do is miss episode 21 of Fight Talk Down Under next week. Of course, we'll be previewing UFC 276. It's going to be a huge one. Of course, it features Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway, and we'll probably cover off Adesanya versus Cannonier as well. We'll talk about Opataya versus Maris Breedis as well, with Isaac Hardman on the card, as well as a host of local promotions that are in action next week. So until then. Send us through your fan questions. The details below. They're going to be over here somewhere, I think, because Josh is in the middle now. But otherwise, like and subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Fight News Australia. And for those who don't know, we are now on Instagram. We did roll this out last week, but we're finally on Instagram.
Yes.
For better or worse, Lockjaw is in charge of that. So, that's I don't know, I might live to regret sort of giving him the reins on that. But it's at Fight Talk Down Under, so give us a follow. And for more good content, of course, stay tuned to Fight News Australia. I've got some interviews with Isaac Hardman and Elliot Compton that have just gone out, so keep your eyes peeled for those. Lockjaw, what have you got for us?
Yeah, fucking 20 episodes in, next week's a big one. We're previewing International Fight Week, all that sort of stuff. If you like promotions, the boxing, it's all happening. I'm staying busy, but I'm super stoked that we got this episode fucking put together. We got our first guest, and it's gonna go down. When we get that $300 million Spotify deal, we can look back and go, that was our first guest. That's probably where it all started. The 6.5 million viewers from the Philippines just pumped us back up.
It's an honor, boys. Thank you for having me on, man. It's like I said, it's an honor for me to be on this thing. I like chatting it up, and I really enjoy listening to the Fight Talk Down Under, because you guys just chat shit and genuinely speak your mind. So I feel like it's a genuine podcast. So that's why I sort of like listening to it, because it's genuine.
I gotta watch it, you never know what might stop you. Here I am, climbing up, feeling great.